But instead, it shocked the entire collecting world by selling for nearly $1 million. It's a quarter. Just 25 cents. A coin you've probably held hundreds of times. Yet one mysterious version of the 2008 Arizona State Quarter, struck at the Philadelphia Mint with the P Mint mark, has left collectors in awe, dealers scrambling, and ordinary people digging through their change in disbelief. At first glance, it looks like any other Arizona quarter. The towering saguaro cactus, the rocky landscape, the year 2008 stamped proudly on the bottom. Millions of these coins were produced and released into circulation. People used them for coffee, bus fare, vending machines, never giving them a second thought. But hidden among the ordinary is something so rare, so unusual, that it could turn pocket change into a life-changing fortune, because one tiny mistake at the mint, a small engraving error almost invisible to the naked eye, transformed this coin from a common quarter into a $1 million miracle. Collectors call it the extra cactus variety. On certain 2008 Arizona quarters struck in Philadelphia, a die flaw caused the engraving lines to stretch across the face of the design. The majestic saguaro cactus appears to have an extra leaf, almost covering the Arizona inscription itself. To the average person, it looks like nothing. Just another design line, a harmless mark. But to trained eyes, this error is the golden ticket, a once-in-a-lifetime strike that shouldn't exist, and when the first discovery was made, the coin world went silent. A man in Tucson, sorting through a handful of change, noticed the odd cactus line. He thought it was just wear and tear. But something about it felt off. He took it to a local coin shop. The dealer, after a quick glance, froze. What he held in his hand was not just any quarter. It was a minting mistake so dramatic, so rare, that even veteran collectors had never seen it in person. Soon, whispers spread. Have you heard about the Arizona error? Dealers started scouring boxes of quarters from banks. Collectors tore through old jars of coins. And then came the moment that stunned everyone. One of these quarters sold at a major auction for nearly $1 million, but here's where it gets even more shocking: most people had already spent them. They were out there, slipping through registers, rattling around in car cup holders, hiding in dressers. And yet, almost nobody realized what they had. One man's 25-cent coin became a treasure worth $1 million, simply because he paid attention. Think about that for a moment. A coin so ordinary, overlooked by millions, but holding a secret worth more than an entire retirement account. Some experts believe only a few thousand of these error coins exist. Others think the number is even smaller, just a handful that slipped past quality control at the Philadelphia Mint. What we do know is this: every time one shows up, collectors swarm like bees to honey, desperate to add it to their collection. First, you need to look closely at the saguaro cactus on the back of the coin. On normal 2008 Arizona quarters, the cactus stands tall and clean, with no obstructions over the word Arizona. But on the error coin, an extra line of metal, a die clash, cuts across like a phantom branch. It looks like an extra cactus arm sprouting in the wrong place. That's the sign. That's the mark of a coin worth hundreds of thousands, even $1 million, and here's the kicker: many people confuse this error with simple wear or scratches. Dealers warn that thousands of collectors have thrown away their chance at riches because they didn't take a second look. They saw the extra line, shrugged it off, and spent the coin. Gone. Lost forever, but those who know what to look for. They've turned 25 cents into life-changing wealth. Collectors were shocked when the first confirmed auction broke records. Dealers couldn't believe the bidding war. People gasped as the final hammer came down. Nearly $1 million, for a quarter that almost everyone else would have tossed in a parking meter, and the story doesn't end there. More examples continue to surface, each one sparking a frenzy in the coin community. Some sell quietly in private collections. Others explode at auctions, fetching prices that ordinary people can barely wrap their minds around. But what makes this even more powerful is the lesson behind it. Every time you reach into your pocket, every time you crack open an old coin jar, you could be holding the key to your future. Because treasures like this don't just belong in museums. They don't just belong to wealthy investors. They're hiding in plain sight, waiting to be found by ordinary people who take the time to look. Imagine the moment. You pull out a handful of change, and there it is, a 2008 Arizona quarter with an extra cactus arm. Your heart skips a beat. You grab a magnifying glass. The detail matches perfectly. You realize what you've found. At that moment, everything changes, because that tiny coin in your palm isn't just 25 cents. It's freedom. It's a dream come true. It's the kind of miracle that can erase debts, secure a future, and create a story that your family will tell for generations. Check your 2008 Arizona quarters. Look for the P mint mark, the Philadelphia strike. Inspect the cactus carefully. If you see that mysterious extra arm cutting across the word Arizona, you may be holding one of the most valuable quarters in history, but be careful. Counterfeits exist. Over-polished coins can trick the eye. That's why professional grading is essential. Send it to a reputable grading service if you suspect you found one. A certified discovery can turn a handful of change into a payday that could alter your life. Collectors often say the thrill isn't just in the money. It's in the chase. The mystery. The dream that today might be the day you uncover $1 million coin. And for the 2008 P Arizona quarter, that dream is still alive. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, tomorrow, when you check the cash register, don't ignore the quarters. Look at them closely. Because history has proven again and again that life-changing treasures don't always shine like gold. Sometimes, they hide in the dust of everyday change, and if luck, patience, and sharp eyes are on your side, you may just stumble on a fortune. This coin almost ended up in a vending machine, but instead, it sold for nearly $1 million. Yes, a simple quarter, struck in 1999, with a small P mint mark, carrying the Connecticut state design of the famous charter oak. The coin most people toss into their car cup holder, became the centerpiece of one of the most shocking coin discoveries of our time. Collectors everywhere are still hunting for it, because hidden among the ordinary coins are a few extraordinary errors, mistakes so rare, so breathtaking, that they've transformed pocket change into life-changing treasure. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. When the U.S. Mint released the Connecticut quarter in 1999, it was supposed to be just another issue in the state quarters program. Millions upon millions were struck at the Philadelphia Mint, clean, ordinary, everyday coins, but deep in the presses, something went wrong. Some coins were struck on experimental planchets, some were struck multiple times, and others show doubling so dramatic, it looks like the tree itself is dancing across the surface. At first, no one noticed. These coins slipped into circulation, passed from hand to hand. Grocery store clerks, gas station attendants, kids at an arcade, all of them unknowingly holding a potential fortune, and then, one collector, just sorting through change, saw something. A detail so tiny, most people would never look twice. The branches of the charter oak weren't sharp and clean, they were distorted, like they had been carved twice, and at the bottom, the Connecticut lettering was shadowed, ghost-like. That tiny detail transformed a 25-cent piece into a coin worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. But this is just the beginning, because hidden among the 1999 Connecticut quarters are not just doubled dies, but off-center strikes, missing clad layers, and wrong planchet errors. Imagine flipping over a quarter and finding it struck on a golden Sacagawea dollar planchet. That has happened. And those coins? They can fetch staggering sums, some reported at over $1.1 million in private sales. Collectors were shocked. Dealers were scrambling. Suddenly, everyone was talking about the Connecticut quarter, and whispers spread at coin shows. Did you hear? One sold for nearly $1 million, but the mystery deepens. Some believe it's fitting that this design, a tree that once hid the colony's charter from the king, is hiding yet another secret centuries later. A symbol of defiance, and now, a symbol of unexpected fortune. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. And experts agree, more of these coins are out there, waiting to be found. But here's where it gets even stranger. Some 1999 P Connecticut quarters show broad strikes, coins that expanded beyond their rims, giving them a ghost-like, stretched appearance. Others are missing their clad layer, exposing a coppery red surface beneath the silver-colored exterior. These aren't just errors, they're rare works of accidental art, and collectors will pay outrageous sums to own them. And then, the auction story broke. A pristine 1999 Connecticut quarter with dramatic doubling on the reverse was put up for sale. At first, whispers filled the auction hall. A state quarter? Worth real money? Some laughed. Others scoffed, but when the bidding began, jaws dropped. The price climbed past $10,000, $50,000, $100,000, until finally, the hammer came down on a number that stunned even the most seasoned numismatists. Nearly $1.1 million, for a coin worth just 25 cents, and here's the part that will make you rethink every single coin in your pocket right now: the errors are subtle. They hide in plain sight. Look closely at the tree. Do the branches double? Do they blur? That's a double die. Check the edges. Does the rim vanish halfway around, as if the coin slipped while striking? That's an off-center error. Flip it in the light. Does the color shift to reddish copper? That's a missing clad layer. And don't forget the weight. Some errors were struck on foreign or experimental planchets, making them heavier or lighter than a normal quarter. But what most people miss is the mint mark. Every one of these rare Connecticut quarters that shook the collecting world carried the P for Philadelphia. That tiny letter, placed just beneath the word, "In God We Trust," is the marker of origin. Without it, your coin is just another quarter. With it, it could be your ticket to a fortune. Collectors were stunned when news spread. Dealers were rushing to get their hands on any 1999 Connecticut quarters they could find, just to weigh them, magnify them, and test their details. Because nobody wanted to miss the chance at history. And here's the greatest twist of all: many of these coins are still in circulation today. Right now. Passing through hands at laundromats, resting in tip jars, hiding in couch cushions. Because when these errors were released in 1999, no one was looking. They slipped silently into the world, blending in with the ordinary, and that means you could already own one. So here's what you need to do. Go grab every Connecticut quarter you can find. Hold it under a strong light. Look for doubling in the lettering. Look for ghostly shadows in the branches. Feel the edges. Check the color. Weigh the coin if you can. Because one of those tiny details could be the difference between a quarter and over $1 million. Think about it. One coin, forgotten for decades, could change your entire life. This coin almost slipped through history unnoticed. A simple 25-cent piece, struck in 2006, tossed in pockets, change jars, and vending machines. But one tiny mistake, one hidden imperfection, turned it into a life-changing treasure. A single quarter, minted in Philadelphia with the P mint mark, has stunned the coin world, selling for as much as $1.2 million. At first glance, the South Dakota state quarter looks ordinary. The proud Mount Rushmore, the soaring pheasant, the ring of inscriptions, it seems like nothing more than another design in the 50-state quarters program. But beneath that familiar face lies a mystery so powerful, it transformed pocket change into a once-in-a-lifetime miracle. Collectors whisper about it. Dealers hunt for it. And one man's discovery of a 2006 South Dakota quarter changed his entire life forever. But what makes this coin different? Why did this one strike ignite bidding wars that shook the entire coin community? The truth begins deep inside the U.S. Mint in Philadelphia. In 2006, millions of South Dakota quarters were produced, routine, flawless, forgettable. But in the chaos of high-speed minting, a shocking error slipped through the presses. Some quarters were struck with double images. Others showed missing details on Mount Rushmore. And a few, the rarest of the rare, carried a double die obverse so dramatic, so clear, that experts gasped the first time they saw it. Imagine holding a quarter and noticing that the words, United States of America, or South Dakota, appear ghosted, doubled, shimmering like a secret message only a trained eye could see. That tiny flaw, invisible to the careless, was the key that turned copper and nickel into gold. But the story doesn't end there. One collector, a man who had searched his change for years, nearly threw his find back into circulation. He thought it was worthless. But something made him stop, something told him to take a closer look. Under a magnifying glass, he saw it, the doubled lettering, the unusual strike. His heart raced. He sent it for grading. Weeks later, the call came. His ordinary quarter had been certified as a rare minting error. At auction, the bids soared past expectation. 10,000, 50,000, 100,000, until finally, the hammer fell at over $1.2 million. A life was changed forever. Experts believe there are more out there. Sitting in drawers. Hiding in jars of spare change. Passed hand to hand in everyday transactions, waiting for someone sharp enough to notice, the Philadelphia Mint mark. These aren't Denver quarters. These aren't proof strikes. The million-dollar treasures are hidden among the Mint mark South Dakota issues. And within those, only the ones with visible doubling, sharp errors, or striking defects command such astronomical value. Collectors were shocked when images of the first million-dollar coin surfaced. Could a state quarter, a modern coin, minted less than 2 decades ago, really be worth more than a classic gold piece? Dealers rushed to re-examine their inventories. Coin hunters tore through rolls of quarters from banks, desperate for a glimpse of the error. And yet, the vast majority of people continued to spend them like ordinary change. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Another 2006 South Dakota quarter surfaced. This time, it wasn't a double die, but a misaligned strike. The design shifted so far off-center that Washington's profile seemed to float. The error was spectacular, and collectors fought tooth and nail to own it. That coin sold for hundreds of thousands. Each discovery added fuel to the fire. Word spread that even a simple scratch, a small die crack, or a weak strike on these state quarters could command incredible premiums. Some went for hundreds, others for thousands. And in rare cases, for millions, a coin you've used to buy a cup of coffee could secretly be worth more than a mansion. A piece of metal you tossed into a parking meter could hold the power to change your entire life. That is the breathtaking reality of the 2006 South Dakota quarter, and the demand is only growing. The more collectors realize how rare these errors are, the more aggressively they search. Stories of everyday people, janitors, teachers, truck drivers, finding life-changing treasures in circulation inspire new hunters every day. Dealers are desperate. Collectors are determined. And every South Dakota quarter in circulation feels like a possible miracle. Fakes exist. Unscrupulous sellers polish, alter, and manipulate coins to trick buyers. The key is certification. PCGS, NGC, and ANAX are trusted names that can confirm authenticity. Without that stamp of approval, a million-dollar dream could turn into a devastating loss. Start with the basics. Look for the Mint mark just below Washington's portrait. Examine the lettering closely. Is there doubling? Are the words shifted, ghosted, or doubled in a way that feels unnatural? Check Mount Rushmore. Are details missing, weak, or distorted? Look at the pheasant. Is its outline incomplete or strangely struck? Any one of these could point to a rare and valuable error. Use a magnifying glass, good lighting, and patience. Compare your coin against verified examples online. And if your heart races because you see something odd, don't ignore it. Get it graded. That step alone can turn a quarter into a life-changing treasure. Somewhere out there, hidden in pocket change, in bank rolls, in dusty drawers and forgotten jars, could be the next million-dollar South Dakota quarter. It might be waiting in your home. It might pass through your hands tomorrow, and if you know what to look for, if you train your eyes, you could be the one who discovers it. Imagine the shock. The disbelief. The moment when you realize that a coin worth 25 cents is suddenly worth $1.2 million, this exact quarter could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost slipped through the cracks of history, but instead, it shocked the coin world when one rare example sold for a staggering fortune, nearly $1 million. It looks just like the quarters you've been handing over at the gas station, the grocery store, even slipping into a vending machine without a second thought. Yes. I'm talking about the 1981 Philadelphia Mint Washington quarter. A coin so ordinary on the surface, yet hiding mistakes so extraordinary, that a single example has been valued at up to $1.3 million. Collectors never saw it coming, dealers never expected it, and for everyday Americans, this story is nothing short of life-changing, because right now, this exact coin could be sitting in your pocket. Why did this plain, copper-nickel-clad piece suddenly skyrocket into the realm of million-dollar treasures? The answer is hidden in a mystery few people even realize exists. You see, 1981 was a strange year for U.S. coinage. The mint was rushing to meet enormous demand. Billions of coins were struck, sometimes in a frenzy, with aging dies, overworked presses, and exhausted staff. In this chaos, errors slipped through, not small errors, but mistakes so shocking, so visually stunning, that they changed the fate of ordinary quarters forever. One of these mistakes was the double die, a misalignment so precise it created an extra set of details on the coin's design. Look closely, and you'll see Washington's profile doubled, the letters ghosted, almost as if two quarters were hiding inside one. And yet, most people never noticed, because this was change, loose coins, jingling in pockets, sliding across countertops. To the untrained eye, it was nothing. To a collector, it was everything. But that wasn't the only secret lurking in the 1981 Philadelphia Mint run. A handful of coins emerged with missing mint details, strange planchet flaws, and even off-center strikes. Some were so dramatic they looked like melted silver pancakes, others so subtle, only the sharpest eyes could catch them. And one day, a collector did. He wasn't rich, he wasn't famous, he was just an ordinary man sorting through his pocket change, when suddenly, one coin stopped him cold. The letters seemed off, the date shimmered strangely. The rim looked uneven. Most people would have tossed it back into circulation without a second thought, but he held on to it. He took it to a dealer, and when that dealer's eyes widened, he knew, he wasn't holding a quarter. He was holding a fortune. At auction, the bidding war was ruthless. Collectors fought tooth and nail for the piece, knowing how rare it was, and when the hammer finally dropped, that ordinary 1981 Philadelphia quarter had become extraordinary, selling for nearly $1.3 million. The answer is yes, because the mint didn't just strike a few thousand of these coins. It struck hundreds of millions, which means those mistakes, those beautiful, accidental errors, are still out there, sitting in coin jars, lying in dusty drawers, waiting to be discovered in the pocket change of someone who isn't even looking. And that's why the hunt for the 1981 Philadelphia quarter has become a modern-day gold rush. Collectors were shocked when early discovery started to surface. Dealers rushed to secure any examples. Some of the world's top grading services now authenticate and certify these coins, giving them legendary status. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Even common, well-worn examples of the 1981 quarter began to sell for surprising premiums, and error coins, even those with minor flaws, fetched hundreds, sometimes thousands, on the open market. It was as if the coin had transformed overnight from forgotten change into a million-dollar miracle. But let me warn you, not every 1981 quarter is valuable. Most are worth exactly 25 cents. The difference between a pocket change coin and a million-dollar treasure comes down to details most people miss. First, examine the obverse, Washington's profile. A true double die will show clear doubling in the lettering, Liberty, and sometimes across Washington's eye and nose. It looks almost like a ghost image, a shadow just slightly out of place. 1981. On rare error coins, the numbers may appear thickened, distorted, or doubled. Even the tiniest doubling could mean thousands of dollars. Third, study the rim and strike. Some examples were struck off-center, meaning the image is shifted, leaving blank crescent-shaped metal on the edge. Others were struck on the wrong planchet, like a dime blank, resulting in undersized, lightweight quarters. These are the jackpot finds. Time is running out, because collectors across America are waking up to the truth. They're searching their jars, their wallets, their hidden stashes. Every day, another one of these rare coins is discovered, and locked away forever into private collections, and that means fewer and fewer chances for you to stumble across one. But imagine this, you reach into your drawer for change, pull out a dull 1981 quarter, and at first it looks like nothing, then you tilt it under the light, and see that doubling. That tiny detail everyone else overlooked. Your heart races, your hands Shake, because in that moment, you realize you're holding a coin worth over $1 million. Collectors call it luck, dealers call it destiny, but for one ordinary American, it will become reality, and maybe, just maybe, that person is you. So the next time you see a 1981 Philadelphia quarter, don't spend it. Don't ignore it, study it, check it. Because the most valuable coin of your life could be hiding right there in your pocket. This exact quarter could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in a gas station till, but instead, it sold for over $1 million. Yes, a simple Washington quarter, the kind you've probably held in your hand thousands of times, shocked the coin world when one rare version surfaced. It wasn't just pocket change anymore. It was a golden ticket, a once-in-a-lifetime discovery worth up to $1.4 million. The truth lies in a mistake, a small, nearly invisible detail created inside the Denver Mint in 1995. At the time, millions of quarters were being struck for circulation. Nothing unusual, nothing suspicious. But hidden among the flood of silver-colored coins, a handful were born with a difference so subtle that even seasoned dealers missed it for years. And here's the shocking part, this difference is exactly why these quarters are now commanding million-dollar price tags. Imagine walking into a convenience store. You toss a few quarters onto the counter. The cashier sweeps them into the register without a second glance. But hidden in that pile could be the very same coin collectors have been chasing for decades. A coin that auction houses whisper about. A coin that transforms an ordinary life into a millionaire's story. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. When the first known 1995 D quarter with this minting anomaly appeared, experts were floored. Collectors gasped at how close they had come to missing it entirely. Some thought it was impossible, a rumor, maybe even a hoax. But then the hammer fell at auction, and the winning bid reached into the stratosphere. Suddenly, everyone wanted to know, what makes this quarter so valuable? The answer begins with its design. The Washington quarter, beloved and familiar, carries the proud face of George Washington on the obverse. But in 1995, something slipped. At the Denver Mint, the dies, the very tools that strike the image onto the blank metal discs, were not aligned perfectly. Some quarters show doubling in the inscriptions. Others have striking irregularities on Washington's portrait, giving them a ghost-like quality. And a rare few? They bear what experts call transitional errors, blending traits not meant for the year 1995 at all. Collectors were shocked. Dealers were stunned. Auction houses scrambled. Suddenly, a coin that most people thought was worth just 25 cents was climbing past $100,000, then $500,000, and in one jaw-dropping case, nearly $1.4 million. Think about it. In 1995, millions of Denver minted quarters entered circulation. Not all were inspected. Not all were caught. Some slipped quietly into soda machines, grocery store tills, or the pockets of everyday Americans. That means, even today, almost 30 years later, one of those life-changing treasures could still be hiding in your change jar, your glove box, or your dresser drawer. And here's where it gets even more mysterious. One man's discovery happened completely by accident. He was sorting through a bag of quarters he had saved from a local bank. At first, nothing looked unusual. Just another pile of shiny coins. But then, under the right light, he spotted something odd in the Liberty inscription. The letters seemed doubled. His hands shook as he pulled out a magnifying glass. Could it be? Could this be the coin he had only read about in collector magazines? It was. And within months, that single quarter transformed into nearly $1 million at auction. But the story doesn't end there. Every time a coin like this surfaces, it ignites a frenzy. Dealers rush to grab them. Collectors guard them like family heirlooms. And average people, like you and me, start searching our pockets with renewed hope. Because this isn't just about a coin. It's about possibility. It's about the thrill of uncovering a hidden fortune where no one else thought to look. On the 1995 D Washington quarter, the clues are in the doubling. Pay attention to the words, "In God We Trust," and "Liberty." Under magnification, the letters may appear to have a shadow, a ghostly duplicate just beneath the real strike. Sometimes Washington's profile shows doubling as well, the nose, the chin, even the edge of the hairline. These are not scratches or damage. They're proof of a minting mishap, the very mistake that gives the coin its extraordinary value. But here's the chilling part: most people miss it. They look too quickly. They shrug and toss the coin aside. And in doing so, they throw away what could have been a $1 million miracle. Collectors know this. That's why they obsess over lighting, magnifiers, and die varieties. They know that fortune hides in details invisible to the naked eye. And they know that coins like the 1995 D quarter don't just represent money, they represent history, luck, and destiny. But what happened when this coin reached the open market shocked everyone. The auction floor fell silent. The bid started at thousands. Then tens of thousands. Then six figures. By the time the final gavel fell, the room erupted in applause. That small piece of metal, a coin that once bought a candy bar, had just changed someone's life forever. Nearly $1.4 million for a single quarter, and now the hunt is on. Every collector, every dealer, every treasure seeker is combing through jars, rolls, and boxes of quarters, praying to be the next lucky soul. Because if one person can find it, so can you. Start by checking the mint mark. It must be a 1995 quarter with the D for Denver. Then, under magnification, study the inscriptions. Look for doubled letters, especially in Liberty and In God We Trust. Examine Washington's profile for doubling. Pay close attention to the edges of the portrait. And finally, look for unusual die flaws, cracks, shifts, or ghost-like impressions that set this coin apart from the ordinary. This is the key. This is what separates a 25-cent coin from a $1 million treasure. So the next time you empty your pocket change, pause. Look closer. Because somewhere out there, in an old jar, a forgotten roll, or a dusty drawer, the 1995 D Washington quarter worth up to $1.4 million is still waiting to be found. And here's the final truth: this exact quarter could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but instead, it turned into a story worth nearly $1.5 million. Yes, you heard that right. A 1989 Washington quarter, the kind you've probably tossed in a vending machine or left rattling in your car's cup holder, has shocked the coin collecting world by being valued at up to $1.5 million. And the most chilling part? Thousands of these coins are still out there, hiding in plain sight. But how did such an ordinary coin, a quarter minted in Philadelphia in 1989, transform into one of the most mysterious treasures in American numismatic history? The truth is stranger than fiction. In 1989, the U.S. Mint produced hundreds of millions of Washington quarters. By all appearances, it was just another year, another mint run, another everyday coin. Collectors never suspected anything unusual. But hidden deep in the sea of copper-nickel-clad quarters, a few rare pieces were struck with shocking mistakes, errors so dramatic, so mysterious, that decades later they would ignite bidding wars and leave dealers speechless. One of these quarters surfaced unexpectedly at auction. At first glance, it seemed like just another worn piece of pocket change. But then, under the magnifying glass, the impossible became clear: the mint mark told the story. This wasn't just a Philadelphia quarter, it carried subtle misalignments, faint doubling, and a die flaw so rare that experts could hardly believe their eyes. The edges revealed a razor-thin strike-through error, as if part of the design had vanished mid-strike. Collectors were stunned, and whispers spread fast: this wasn't just a common 1989 P quarter. This was a ghost coin, one of only a handful ever seen. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. At auction, this little 25-cent piece set off a firestorm. Bidders clashed, numbers soared, and in a matter of minutes, what began as pocket change exploded into a staggering sale, pushing toward $1.5 million. A quarter, worth more than a luxury home. A coin smaller than a poker chip, worth more than a lifetime of wages, because at first glance, the 1989 P quarter looks painfully ordinary. The worn silver-gray surface. George Washington's familiar profile. The eagle on the back spreading its wings. It's the exact kind of coin you wouldn't give a second thought to. And that's the trap, but hidden in the details are clues. Clues that separate the million-dollar miracle from the everyday change you hand to a cashier without hesitation. The first is the mint mark. On these rare error pieces, the P isn't where it should be, or it carries a faint doubling, almost like a shadow. Sometimes it's struck slightly off-center. And sometimes, it's so faint, collectors call it the vanishing P. But that's not all. Some 1989 P quarters carry dramatic die cracks, raised lines running across Washington's face or the eagle's wings, as if the coin itself is scarred with history. Others reveal a strike-through error, where a foreign object was caught in the die, leaving part of the design missing. These are the treasures collectors dream of, flaws so rare they turn ordinary coins into legends, and yet, the story gets stranger. One collector swears he found his million-dollar 1989 P quarter not in a dealer's showcase, not at an estate sale, but in a gas station till. Imagine reaching for change after buying a soda, and unknowingly holding a fortune in your hand. He didn't believe it at first. How could something so small be worth so much? But once authenticated, that quarter changed his life forever. Dealers are now rushing to get their hands on these elusive 1989 P errors. Stories circulate of collectors pawing through jars of old change, shaking with anticipation, praying they'll see the faint doubling on the mint mark, the vanishing letter, the scarred die cracks, and every time another one surfaces, the price climbs higher. But what makes this coin so valuable isn't just rarity, it's the dream it carries. Because unlike gold coins locked in vaults or ancient rarities displayed behind glass, the 1989 P quarter could be anywhere. In your pocket. In a forgotten drawer. In the dusty jar of coins sitting on top of your fridge. That's why it's driving collectors wild. The idea that one person's overlooked spare change could secretly be worth $1 million, and here's what you need to know if you want to find one. First, check the mint mark. If it has a P, look closely. Is it doubled? Misaligned? Weak or vanishing? That's the first red flag. Second, study the details. Look for die cracks, raised lines on Washington's portrait or across the eagle's wings. These are signs of stressed dies that produced error coins. Third, check the strike. Some of these coins are off-center, or missing parts of the design due to strike-through errors. If your quarter looks unusual, even slightly off, don't ignore it. That could be your jackpot. And finally, don't make the mistake of dismissing it as just another coin. Countless collectors have passed over fortunes because they didn't take the time to look closely, because somewhere out there, maybe right now, another 1989 P quarter is sitting unrecognized, waiting to shock the world again. So the next time you hold a quarter in your hand, don't just see pocket change. See possibility. See history. See the dream that one small piece of metal could unlock a fortune beyond belief. This exact quarter could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million.